Hello. Uh, Today I kind of had a idea to go through every perk in Deep Rock Galactic and kind of give you my thoughts on the perk, whether I think it's good, bad, or I don't know. I guess we'll rate it 1 out of 5 for each one. So I'm gonna give them 2 ratings. I'm gonna give them one if you're playing alone, and another if you're playing with friends. Um, I could probably do all sorts of different ratings depending on how many friends you're playing with, etc. But um, this is just going to be my kind of my gut reaction to each one, just telling you what I think. So, deep pockets give you plus 15 more valuables. Now, I'm going to assume that you have all of these maxed out. So, this one is it's about a 3, I would say. If you're on Scout, I think it's a little higher, but the player count doesn't really matter for deep pockets. Whichever amount of players that you're playing with, it's going to be just as helpful. It's probably more helpful in solo now that I think about it, because you are the only one that's picking up the minerals, obviously. However, it's counteracted by the fact that you're the only one that has Molly, so you just call Molly wherever the minerals are falling, and then you pick them up as you're depositing. So, it's a little, I don't know, it can be, the usefulness of it can be offset by smart placement of the mule. If you are on point extraction missions, maybe it's not so bad, or Quark missions. Maybe it's not so bad. But yeah, I think it's either a 2 or a 3, depending on your class, really. Scouts, it's a 3, everyone else is a 2. Veteran Depositor. This one is a utility perk, so I used this for a long while when I first started out the game. Being able to quickly deposit in the mule is pretty helpful. However, I think there are better options for you. So I will give Veteran Depositor a 2. The damage reduction is not very noticeable. It's 30%, which is it's quite a hefty damage reduction. But if I had this equipped, I wouldn't be able to tell you that I have that reduction. However, being able to deposit 50% faster is pretty nice. But there's better ways to do it, so I'll give it a 2. If you like it, you like it. I'll give it a 2. Sweet Tooth. As you can see, this is one that I use on my Scout. I will give Sweet Tooth a 4 out of 5. Just having more effective red sugar is a good thing, right? It's more health. More health is good. If you don't find yourself using red sugar all too often, maybe you instead opt to go around gathering nitra. I can see you opting out of using Sweet Tooth. But with a class like Scout, which is very ammo efficient, maybe red sugar's a better option. Plus that movement speed bonus, it's pretty good, especially on Scout where your movement is key. So I give it a 4. Resupplier. This is gonna be a one that gets me a little bit of a. This is gonna be contentious, but I will rate Resupplier a 5 out of 5. And as far as passive perks go, I think it is the second best passive perk. So you resupply 50% faster, which is significantly better than depositing 50% faster, because resupplying takes so long. No, without this, if you use this, I guarantee you'll notice a difference. As well, the extra 25% health you get after you resupply is very helpful, as well as the instant reload. So yeah, I'll give this a 5 out of 5. I think all classes can use this. It's a very good perk. I would be caught dead before I don't have Resupplier, and chances are, if you don't have Resupplier, you probably will be caught dead. Unstoppable. This is a 1. It doesn't do enough. The 25% faster while carrying heavy objects, I think, is bugged still. Doesn't really work. And not every environment has slowdown effects, so I give this a 1. I think it's really bad. Vampire is the best perk in this game. couple this with a active perk, and it's just great. So being able to kill anything medium-sized or larger creature with a melee attack, kill any of those with a melee attack, that is grunts and above. So as long as it's not tiny, this works. So it doesn't seem like a lot, but that health will add up over the course of a match, even if it's up to, let's say 150 health, right? It's a lot of health that you're getting back. So yeah, I think Vampire's the best passive perk in the game. I give it a 5. I have it on all of my dwarves, all of them. So yeah, we'll give it a 5. Strong arm. This is a 1. You throw flares faster. Whoopee. The throwing force. You don't really need, right? You're not throwing them that often, and if you are, you can just carry it the same distance. So I give it a 1. Friendly. If you have friends that like to shoot at you a lot, it's like a 3, right? But if you're like me and you don't really do much shooting, or right, team killing, it's a 1. If you're playing alone, it's also a 1. That's it. So if it's a 3 if you have teammates that are annoying, a 1 otherwise. Environmental insulation, the same thing here. It's a 1. You won't really notice it all too much, and if you do, chances are you can probably get the same effect by just avoiding the environmental damage or the elemental damage. So, if you find yourself dying to Praetorian gas often, you might want to check. You might want to try this. But the better option is just to get out of the gas. Just get out of it, and don't run into volcanoes, and you won't need this perk. So I give it a 1. Second win, I think this, if you're playing alone, is a 4. If you're playing with friends, it's probably a 3. And I say this because the sprint speed boost alone is a lot better for getting away from bugs, whereas it's a little bit less when you're with friends because they can kind of draw the enemies away from you if you need to get away. I think this is a good perk though. If you are very much into the whole speed is key thing, pick this up. It'll work great for you. So I'll give it a 4. It's not an instant pick like Vampire or Resupplier are, but I'll give it a 4. It's pretty good. Born Ready. I think it's a 3 on Gunner and a 1 on any other class. Reloading is shorter. You're probably not going to notice it that much, but if you, I don't know, it just doesn't seem that great. If you're playing Gunner, right, it allows you to switch from your primary to your secondary, and then usually by the time you're done with your secondary, you'll be able to swap back, and it'll be reloaded. So on Gunner, I think it's a 3. You can consider using it, but I don't think it's that great. It's a bug thing. It's a 10 out of 5. Not really. It's funny. That's it. It's a 1. It's pretty bad. Just melee them. Thorns. I'm going to give a 5 if you're playing alone, and a 3 if you're playing with friends. Thorns helps solo players specifically deal with the shockers and the tiny bugs, right? Anything tiny, swarmers, shockers, that will melee you, they just die. Even on Hazard 5, I'm pretty sure swarmers are instantly killed with Thorns maxed out, so it's pretty good especially if you're playing Scout, let's say, and you have the sniper, right? You're not going to really want to be wasting that precious ammo on the little dude, so consider picking up Thorns if you're playing Scout with a sniper. The reason I give it a 3 with friends is your friends can just shoot them, right? If you're playing with a driller, flamethrower just deals with anything Thorns would be that helpful with. Yeah, it's pretty good, but it's not something that I would instantly pick. So the top perks here: Vampire, Resupplier, And then for your other one, it's very situational. But I would recommend Sweet Tooth just as an all-around good perk. Active perks. Active perks. All right, this one's gonna be fun. Berserker. It's pretty good, I think, but in any scenario where Berserker would be good, I'd think just being better with your weapon would be better than using Berserker. It's on a 4-minute cooldown, which is very long in this game, right? Most swarms are going to be dealt with in 4 minutes, right? They won't be over, but your team's going to be set up. You're going to be dealing with them fairly reasonably. It's okay. If it was a longer duration than 10 seconds, I think it'd be better, but I'm going to give Berserker a 2. The more I think about it, the less and less it seems good. Field Medic. If you're playing with friends, it's a 5. You cannot go wrong with an instant revive, right? It's a 5 if you're playing with friends who go down quite often. 30% faster revive, pretty good too, so I'll give it a 5 for there. If you're playing with friends who don't go down that often, maybe a 3 or 4. Solo, obviously this is a 0 because it does nothing. Iron Well. I'm tempted to give it a 5, and I think I will, because Iron Will is fantastic, right? It gives you that second wind that you need, right? You go down, your friends are nowhere there, right? You can get yourself back up, and you couple it with Vampire, and it's a 5 out of 5 instantly. You always use Iron Will if you have Vampire on, because when you're in Iron Will, you go find a bug, right? You melee attack them, kill them, and you get your 5 health back, so you won't go down after that 12 seconds. Right? You can also use Sweet Tooth to get more health after going down with Iron Will, because you start from 0 when you heal up, right? So, yeah, Iron Will is a 5. If you never die, right? Obviously, it's a little bit less impactful for you, but I give it a 5 out of 5. Heightened Senses, it's a 3, situational. If you find yourself getting leeched pretty often, throw on Heightened Senses. It'll help you out, I guarantee it. With that being said, if you don't, right, if you recognize the noise of a cave leech, or don't have problems with grabbers or trawlers, right, you won't need it. So I give it a 1 in that case, because you just don't need it. I think it's a little bit higher up in solo play, because Bosco, while great, doesn't really shoot down the cave leeches fast enough, right? So I think it's probably a 4 on solo, again, if you have a problem with cave leeches. If not, don't use it, there's no point. Shield Link. Strangely enough, right, I've used this a lot, right? And I've never had any of my teammates, I've never had it make any difference, so I'll give it a 1. I just don't think it's noticeable, right? I don't know, it's just, I just don't think it does enough, and that's strange to me, that 300% shields for 30 seconds doesn't seem to do enough. Could just be me and my team, but you know what? I'll give it a 1. In solo, a 1. It's useless. Dash. We go back to the speed perks from before. It's 3 on solo, and a 3 in multiplayer. You ignore all slowdown effects. So if you were considering using Unstoppable, I would instead opt to use Dash, because you also get that burst of speed, which will help you get out of a sticky situation in the first place. Whereas this, it reduces it by half, Dash reduces it 100% and gives you a speed boost. So if you have a real problem to where you are considering using Unstoppable, I would just use Dash instead. Steve, the Beastmaster perk. Well, probably not going to make any friends with this. I give it a 2. I think it's probably... I give it a 2. I don't think it does enough. It's funny, right? You get a bug. It's pretty helpful, right? It's not a bad perk, so I don't think 2 is actually accurate. Maybe I'll give it a 3. I think it's very middle of the road. If you want a bug, get a bug, right? It's not going to hurt anybody, but it's definitely not necessary. So I give it a 3. I would opt for other perks before I pick Steve. Speaking of other perks, See You in Hell, I genuinely think is the best perk in the entire game. The best active perk and passive perk bundled into one. So this has 2 effects. Passive is whenever you get hit with a melee attack, your melee damage gets boosted. I don't know the exact numbers for it, but it's very noticeable. Couple this with Vampire, and you will get a lot of health back, right? You'll get a lot of health back with this. If anything hits you, it's the only thing around. Maybe there's 1 or 2 grunts around you. Just melee them. You get 10 health back. They probably won't deal 10 damage to you. It's pretty good. Now the active part, because that was only half. 3 times each mission, whenever you go down, you will explode whenever you want, and it will essentially let your teammates revive you without having to worry about any enemies. I think that is very underrated. Whenever I go into public lobbies, not many people use See You in Hell, and I always use it. I think you instantly include it. Always. See You in Hell is by far the best perk in the game. In solo, even, right? You consider using See You in Hell. Because when you're downed, Bosco will come by you, right? Bosco already gets that part of See You in Hell where he'll scare off the enemies. But if you manage to blow up, kill everything around you, then that part of it doesn't matter. The explosion does a significant amount of damage as well. I've been able to, as engineer, solo Betsy's very easily, and the last hit is sometimes from See You in Hell. Not always, but sometimes from See You in Hell. Does quite a bit of damage. So I give this one a 5 out of 5. I think it's an instant include in any game. It's fantastic. Overpowered? Maybe a little bit. Hover boots. I give it a 4. If you need it, use it. If you don't, don't. That's about it. You find yourself falling as scout often, and or other classes, right? Use it. This will save you from those falls. It's a 75-second cooldown. Now that I'm looking at it, that's pretty long, but it's not long enough for me to dock any points down. This is a fantastic perk, one that I would definitely consider running if you need it. And even if you don't need it, it's fun. You get hover boots. It's pretty good. So, yeah. Those are my ratings. We'll go through again. My top 3 for passive are Vampire is my number 1, Resupplier is number 2, and then number 3 is either Sweet Tooth or Thorns, depending on which scenario you find yourself in. Active perks, the best one is See You in Hell, followed then by Iron Will. Field Medic's pretty good too. Beastmaster's fun. Hover boots are fun. But yeah, I don't think you can go wrong with any of these active perks. Maybe with Berserker and Shield Link, right? I don't think these two are as impactful as the others. So for active perks, I would just avoid Berserker and Shield Link. For passive perks, I would definitely avoid Unstoppable, Elemental Insulation, and that's really the only one I would avoid, or the only two. Strong Arm, you avoid, and Bug Thing. It's a bug thing, man. They're loot. They're loot bugs. They're friends. They're not food. Alright. Appreciate you for watching. And I will see you when I see you. Peace.